As Vice President, I've had the opportunity to travel with the President to visit alumni throughout the country. And especially if they haven't been recently involved with the university, they marvel over the progress we've made as a university, and they support our plans moving forward. The alumni are excited in new ways and notice the hard work of everyone on campus. As I hope you do, I look forward to hearing President Esteban discuss Seton Hall's progress over the past year, as well as where we're headed for the future. So it's my pleasure to introduce the 20th President of Seton Hall, Dr. Gabriel Esteban.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Monsignor. Good morning. I was told that the wireless network is down, and I was told it was my attempt to get everyone to come here instead of sitting in there. So I guess it worked. But good morning, and I'd like to acknowledge a few people before I get started. Our provost, I know we have our faculty leadership here with us. We have members of cabinet. We have our deans here. We have members of our priest community. We have you, our staff, our administrators. I'd also like to make special mention of my wife, Jo, who's with us this morning. I'd also like to thank a number of officers from across campus who helped put everything together. This does not happen in a vacuum. And when I asked Lisa to make a list of who to thank, she came up with this one page of individuals and offices to thank. And I thought I'd just do a sweeping thank you for individuals from across campus, from PR marketing, facilities, people in this building who helped put this together, to Lisa, and I'd have to make a special mention of Jo because she worked on this presentation while I was traveling earlier this week. As I started to prepare this state of the university, I stopped to reflect, and I realized that I'm marking my 10th year at Seton Hall this year. And it doesn't seem possible, but on August 16, 2007 was my first day at Seton Hall. And I remember, because coming from Arkansas, driving here, I'd never seen a jug handle in my life. And getting off 78 at the exit by Home Depot, it told me to turn left, and I thought, there's a small island here. How am I supposed to turn left? So that was my introduction to the fact that I should have turned right first to turn left. But I've since made that mental adjustment, although I still wonder if the turn is going to come before or after the stoplight. And sometimes you can actually turn left, and that's been one big adjustment. But as I reflect, I had a chance to look at some of the pictures. I was looking at a magazine which we put out on technology. This was in fall 2007. And there was a photograph of an individual who I barely recognized. And I realized that was me with more hair. I seem a little taller at the time and so on. But I really relish the time I've been here at Seton Hall. Yesterday's gospel was from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 20. It was a parable of the landowner and the laborers. And some of you may be familiar where the landowner went out to look for people to work his vineyards. And he started early in the morning, and he came to an agreement with a group of laborers first thing like 6 a.m. And he went out again at 9 a.m. And he asked another group of laborers to come work the fields. And so he went on until 5 p.m., which was basically an hour before the fields were going to be shut down basically for the day. And he asked them to join. And as it came time to pay, he asked his foreman to bring in those who came in last to come in first so he could pay them. And the group which came in at 5 o'clock, they got paid a full day's wages. And so with the group which came in throughout the day. So when the first group, which did their work, came in, the group that came in at 8 a.m., and they were paid their day's wages, there was some grumbling because they were expecting more. And the landowner said, basically, am I not free to do what I want with my money? And you had agreed to work for the day for the wages, and so on. And yesterday's homilist was Monsignor McCarran from the seminary. And he talked about the difference in perspectives, among other things, and so on. But one thing which stuck in my mind was that we should actually focus not on the wages paid, but we should focus on the worker. Okay? Not the wages. The wages are important, obviously, but we should focus on the worker. And as I reflect on what we've been able to accomplish over the past 6 years now, I realize whatever success we have is because of the work of everyone in this room. When I meet with parents, when my wife and I go to open houses, meet with parents, when I run into people on campus, prospective students, current students, one of the things, among the things they talk about is how beautiful the campus is, how friendly people are, okay? How someone in this office helped me. It's not unusual for me to get letters from parents, particularly, saying, please recognize this individual, this individual, this individual. They're very helpful. Okay? And that's what makes us unique as an institution. Okay, that didn't work. I always like to go back and start with our mission, and I'll try and go through very briefly the first part, because the second part of my talk, I'll talk more about where we think we can be in 2025. Okay, I had it upside down, so. If you recall, in 2011, first State of the University address, we phrased in terms of a goal where we thought we could be by 2020. And that's to be recognized among the top 10 Catholic universities in the country and among the top 100 national universities, okay, which seemed to be very aggressive goals considering where we were as an institution and the environment. Next question was, how are we going to get there? And this is just lifted from the 2011 town hall meeting. So we talked about building on our Catholic identity, funding strategic initiatives, being more student-centric, breaking down silos, and developing some discipline internally. Now let me just share with you some of the things we've done since actually 2010, and in some cases, in enrollment management in 2009. In terms of building up our Catholic identity, we established the first, and at that time, the only Department of Catholic Studies on the East Coast. And I also had a bachelor's degree in Catholic theology. We created a lecture series, which is now endowed. We implemented a new core curriculum. And we had guest speakers speak on special topics, including Laudato Si. And our seminary has become the fastest growing, one of the fastest growing in the Northeast, if not in the US. We also invested in strategic initiatives. Out of our strategic plan, one of the things which came out was we had to invest in our students, increase our student selectivity. So these were just some of the things which we thought we needed to do as an institution. And again, these are things which were from the 2011 town hall. We said we needed to invest in academic programs. Okay? We needed to identify centers of excellence, develop new programs. We needed to invest in our people and in our infrastructure, keeping in mind that this was 2011. And if you recall, in September or August 2011, we had one of our smallest freshman classes in a long time. We had 986 freshmen in 2011. That was coming off about 1,300 in 2010. So there's a lot of skepticism in terms of whether or not we could achieve any of the lofty goals we set out. Okay. This is where we are. In fall 2009, Monsignor Sheeran, who was president at the time, asked our office, the Office of the Provost, to oversee enrollment management. And that's why that's traditionally been the starting point. And this is what we had, 1050 SAT, 83.1 admit rate, number of freshman retention rate. Last fall, we had gone up to 1145 on the average. Our admit rate had dropped to 76.1, and we had 1,400 freshmen last fall, and our retention rate was 84. As of last week, actually, so these are just projections, it looks like our two-part average will be 1153 or 1152, okay, which will be the highest in our history. Our admit rate will be 66.8, which will be the lowest admit rate in our history. We'll have between 1250 and 1275 freshmen, which is, just so this group knows, that's below our target of 1,300 to 1,325. Okay. We had an opportunity to be more selective, to lower the admit rate and maintain a certain quality, so we decided to go for the selectivity of the class instead of going for the numbers. And our freshman-sophomore retention rate increased by 1 percentage point to 85%. To summarize, this is where we are. What's interesting is we had the most applications in our history, over 15,000. That's completed applications. We have a very diverse class. Last year, actually, 40% of our freshmen were from out of state. This year, it's 34. Keeping in mind that historically, about 20% of our freshmen were from out of state. 28% of our freshmen are Pell eligible. And to put that in context, our sister institutions in the Big East, Villanova, Georgetown, they're about 12% Pell eligible. So in terms of the socioeconomic status of our students, we cater to a very different group of students. And 40% of our students were identified or self-identified as students of color. Our retention rate is up 4 percentage points. That's important. Those 4 percentage points on a class of 1,300 means that you have 52 additional sophomores. Think of it. That 4 percentage points means 52 additional sophomores, okay, every single time. The growth in the undergrad enrollment, so we're now up, last fall we were up 15% over 2009. We were over 6,000 last year. It'll go below 6,000 this year. And the reason is we graduated a large class. The freshman class of 2012, we had over 1,400 freshmen. It's being replaced by a freshman class of about 1,250 to 1,275. It's balanced by shifts in graduate enrollment. The law school. Law school enrollment has dropped significantly since fall 2009. In particular, it's been in the JD program. Our MS program in law school has been growing, and I'll get into this a little bit. Where we've seen a lot of growth has been in the health and medical sciences, SHIMS and nursing. If you look, we've grown significantly since fall 2009, and we've declined in all the other areas. And that growth in SHIMS and nursing has had a side impact, which is the growth in the science majors. And I know people here are well aware of that. Okay. Looking forward, it looks like we've seen some growth for new registered students for this fall versus last fall. Okay. So we're hopeful that we're going to be able to pick up some of our graduate enrollment. And this is year-to-date information. In a nutshell, in the law school, it's decreased from 363 to 155 this fall. Early, I think in 2011, 2012, when we saw what was happening in law schools around the country, the provost and I sat down and talked about our strategy for the law school. And there was no question in our mind that we wanted to maintain the quality of the incoming class, being the first-year law students. So that's something which we did not sacrifice because we thought it would pay off in terms of the bar pass rates, which you need to be able to practice, as well as improvement in terms of job prospects for our students. And it has paid off. Okay, we're considered, if you compare us to the peers we used to compare, we had a 16-peer institution. We used to rank in the middle of those 16. We're now ranked we're ranked number 3 in the 16 peer institutions we compare ourselves to. Okay. We've also invested in academics. From the establishment of the new med school, Communication of the Arts, we also are proud that we've increased the number of faculty recipients for Guggenheim. We have another Guggenheim awardee this year, and the H. Fulbright Award since 2009. Scholarship has gone up significantly by over 40%. We've identified and supported our centers of excellence, and we've established a fund for strategic initiatives as well. We've also invested in student success. Prior to 2008, we had 2 student Fulbright awardees. We now have 21. We have, I think about 5 Boren, Pickering, and Udall scholars as well. Okay. The employment rate of our students remains 20% above the national graduate average. In some areas, I know it's 100% placement. Okay. And we've been named one of the top 5 universities for internships. And I point this out because of its impact on our students getting jobs. And that's one thing parents always ask us about in open houses. What are the chances of my son, daughter, guardian getting a job when they graduate? We've also invested in athletics. And the one thing we're proud of is that we have the highest cumulative GPA for all student athletes in our history at just under 3.4. Okay. We won Big East championships, not just this year, but in years past. And we've significantly increased media exposure, which is important from a fundraising and alumni standpoint. Because of our media exposure, we have game watches across the country. At one time, we only had, I think, 3 or 4 alumni clubs across the country. We now have 23, 24 alumni clubs across the country. And some of the meetings revolve around watching Seton Hall play basketball. We've also made advancements in our infrastructure, investments in infrastructure. From renovations, which included $36 million in deferred maintenance, which we no longer have, to new buildings. Okay. And I think all of you have seen these buildings. We've also invested in advancement. In fiscal 2012, we received $9.7 million in gift commitments. And last year was our strongest year in history, at least that we can find in terms of gift commitments, when we raised $21.6 million in gift commitments. The reason we have fiscal 12 as the start date, David Bohan joined us March 2012, which is fiscal 12. What's more impressive is the total number of undergrad donors, going from 3,100 to 4,000 plus, which is fairly significant. Our alumni giving rate has gone up significantly. Last year, we had our largest gift since the last campaign, which was a $5 million gift. And we hope to be able to announce in the next month or so an even larger gift. We're trying to finalize all the details, so to speak. So hopefully in the next few weeks to next month, we'll announce a larger gift than the $5 million gift. Okay. Someone asked me once, where's the money going to? About half of the gift commitments we received last year are going to scholarships. Okay. And a number of them are going to need-based aid. This year, actually, for the first time since we started on our drive for selectivity, we shifted some of our aid to need-based aid. So we shifted some of our merit-based aid to need-based aid because we thought we were in a position to be able to give more in terms of need-based aid. And we hope to be able to continue that as we generate more funds. Okay. All of this has had an impact. We talked about the ranking. While I'm not a big fan of U.S. News and World Report's ranking, it is one of the ones people look at. There are some things which we think are important, like the retention rate of our students, their graduation rates. We think the selectivity is important, the resources we invest in our people. Okay. But because of all the things we have done, we thought it was informative, and this is something we shared with the board last year at the retreat. In fall 2010, that was the 11th edition. It was based on 2009 data. We were ranked 136 among doctoral national universities. And with us was DePaul University. Last year, and this is every 2 years, last year, fall 2015, they came out with a 2016 edition. We had moved up 13 places to 123. We're ranked at the same as DePaul and Catholic University. Okay. Only one other institution among these Catholic institutions was able to move up faster than us, and that was Loyola. Okay. And I say that Loyola was previously ranked in the top 100 before they dropped to 117. Okay. So it's not a given. And the differences between all of us, is very slight. Okay. But this just gives you a sense, because every year we've gone up, actually. If you look at it, 136, 132, 131, 128, 126, 123. But our goal, we told our board, was just to try and do better than we did last year on the measures which matter to us, on our retention, on our graduation, on our student selectivity measures. That was the goal. And we told the board that all of this really doesn't matter, but because if we're doing what we're supposed to do, we expect to see some improvement. And we've seen it. Because of this, in our board retreat last year, the goal was set a little higher by the board. Our new goal is to be among the top 5 Catholic universities and top 75 national universities by 2025. And it seems ambitious again, but not as ambitious, one might argue, as the first goal we set. We're going to have more competition. Villanova is now ranked as a national university. So I fully expect them to be among the top 75 national universities because of their resources, because of their retention, their graduation rates, their selectivity. But that's fine. We beat them in the Big East Championship anyway. So we'll beat them here also. But I always believe in setting goals which seem slightly beyond reach. Because if you had told me when we started that we'd be where we are today, I'd say, yeah, sure. Okay, how many universities have been able to increase their SAT scores by 102, 103 points in the period of time we've been able to do? Okay, we actually looked that up, and I think there may be one in a similar time period, and it's not Elon. Everyone thinks of Elon University, it's not them. Okay. It's Northeastern, actually. So we've set, because of what we've done, because of what you've been able to accomplish, I think the future looks bright. So what does the next decade look like to get to where we think we could be? We need to continue to grow our Catholic identity, spirituality, and our culture. We need to continue to increase our selectivity while maintaining a diverse student body. Okay, we need to move forward and achieve eminence in new and established academic units. We need to continually invest. Okay. I remember I was interviewed by the Citonian last year, and we started to talk about construction. And one of the questions I was asked is that, why is there nothing being done on campus? And I thought, just last summer, the entire green was dug up. And I said, we just finished 130 plus million of construction. And it's fascinating, the psychology of seeing cranes working on campus and how it gives the image of progress, of moving forward. Advancement. We need to continue to push forward in terms of solicitation of gifts for endowed professorships, endowed chairs, scholarships for building construction. These are some of the goals we're setting to 2025. By 2025, we expect our two-part average to be roughly over 1,200, 1,210. Our admit rate we expect to drop to about 60%. Number of freshmen, we're probably going to be around 1,500. Okay? And that sounds like a lot, but we've actually had freshman classes of 1,430. And with the movement of health medical sciences and possibly nursing to our new campus, we're actually going to have space created on campus. And we expect our freshman-sophomore retention rate to go up to about 90%. We expect to continue to invest in our infrastructure. And that means updating and renovating our Hoffman LaRoche site in Nutley, Clifton, to create an integrated health and medical sciences campus by 2018. We hope to complete the new Welcome and Event Center by January 2018. At least that's what Mr. Garbini promised me. And that's as you enter the main gate. We plan to start and complete the first phase of the expansion and renovation of the University Center. We'll start that sometime January, and the first phase to be completed by August 2018. Then we'll start planning for the second phase by next year. We expect continued refinement of our campus master plan. This is the site of the new Health and Medical Sciences, including the new School of Medicine is going to be here. This was the former research lab for Hoffman LaRoche. It has, right now it has over 400,000+ square feet, and we're going to occupy, I think, 4.5 floors of the facility. This is what the proposed Welcome and Event Center is going to look like. And it's important to point out, it's not just for admission, but it's also event space. It's going to replace the main lounge in the University Center. This will have seating for 500 people for dinner. The current main lounge, I think, seats 330 to 350. And you can also have as many as 750 in a lecture-style forum, which is about 200+ more than our current capacity. It will also allow us to divide the space into 3 separate areas. These are views from Seton Hall Drive and South Orange Avenue. This is what the proposed University Center is going to look like. One thing to keep in mind here is that we're going to increase both board dining and commuter dining. Board dining is going to go up from just under 800 to about 1,000, and retail dining from 240 to 300. So both capacities will increase by about 25%. We're going to be able to centralize student services and our campus, our student organizations in this new facility. Let me just share with you a short video, and I'd like to thank IT and Media Services for helping put this together. This is a condensed version of the version that was shown at our board retreat last year.
Both our mission and our strategic plan invite and encourage members of the Seton Hall community to discover and build upon the riches and resources of the Catholic intellectual tradition, and in a diverse and collaborative environment, focus on academic and ethical development to form servant leaders for a global society. The next phase of the master plan will build upon the foundations of the past to meet the challenges of today, continuing to weave the rich fabric of our campus. From vision to reality, the admissions building becomes the gateway to the university. It provides a dedicated central location for all admissions activities and provides a welcoming first impression to prospective students and families. Showcasing the university, its values, culture, goals, and initiatives, the admissions building conveys tradition in academic excellence, Catholic heritage, and university history, generating pride in the Seton Hall community at large. The new admissions building supports the university mission by reinforcing university identity, attracting and retaining students, and by engaging and building community. The University Center is the heart and living room of the university. At the heart of the campus, the existing University Center is a building that students are just as likely to walk around as through. Its proposed reconfiguration intends to create a critical hinge in campus circulation. The new University Center supports the university mission by attracting and retaining students, by building community and increasing quality of life, and by supporting academic performance and fostering student success. The College of Communication and the Arts represents our faithful reconstruction of the university's historic architecture. As a historic building on the campus, Mooney Hall faces many challenges in regard to its continued use. It is proposed that key elements such as the existing cupola be restored and reused. The new College of Communication and the Arts was created to enable innovative, genuine, and professional interaction in academic, social, artistic, and technological settings. The rebuilding of Mooney Hall will bring the arts and communications programs that are currently dispersed around campus together. The new College of Communication and the Arts supports the university mission by building the identity and community of a center of excellence, by attracting and retaining students and faculty, and by rebuilding the historic character of the campus. The former Nursing and Arts and Science Hall is transformed to create the Center for Student Support and Academic Success and showcases our adaptive reuse of this building. The new Center for Student Support and Academic Success supports the university mission by managing assets and resources, by supporting student success, and by addressing changing demographics. The student apartment building provides apartment-style units to the campus and presents mixed-use opportunities for engagement. This apartment tower will give Seton Hall University an on-campus residence life option that strengthens the campus community and a mixed-use integration of program that will add vibrancy to Madison Drive with 3 very active student services: the new bookstore, the post office providing 3,200 mailboxes, and the centralized public safety and security suite. The new student apartment building supports the university mission by attracting and retaining students, by generating revenue, and by addressing changing demographics. Seton Hall University remains steadfast on course, yet responds with agility to increased competition for students and their changing demographics, while striving to attract and retain the best in academia and deftly managing asset and resource stewardship. The broad strokes and fine details of the next phase of the master plan will yield thoughtfully minded servant leaders for many years to come. Begin now to be what you will be hereafter.
So again, this is going to be our proposed reconstruction of Mooney Hall to house the new College of Communication and the Arts. Tentative timeline to start 2019, 2020 maybe. The proposed apartment building, again, start date probably in 2020 or thereabouts, give or take a year. And as you noted, the first 2 floors will consist of offices. Our plan is to centralize right now public safety and your bookstore, student services. They're all going to be housed within the first 2 floors, and on top would be apartment-style living for primarily upper-class students. And lastly, the proposed Center for Student and Academic Success. It will consolidate all these services from freshman services to the Academic Resource Center. All in all, once this is all done, assuming we are able to do all these projects, it will net us 11 new classrooms across campus after we get done with the restacking. So that's on the infrastructure piece. In terms of targets for advancement, the goal by fiscal 2022 will be in the midst of our campaign by then is to be raising 30 to 35 million. And that should be consistent for a few years as the target. And our undergrad alumni participation rate should be about 14% by that time. Going into some of the challenges, and since this is the last slide I showed, let me start off by talking about fundraising. And that's a big challenge. While we always hear about these large gifts to these very select universities, they are very select universities. To institutions like Seton Hall, what we're finding is that the culture of giving back is not as strongly imbued in our alum as it is at other institutions. And that's been a big challenge for us. When we looked at alumni giving rate by the decade at Seton Hall, there's a 3-decade period where the alumni giving rate is between 4 and 5%. Okay. Think of it. And these are graduates of the 80s, 90s, 2000s. Okay. Graduates from 2010 onward are giving over 10%. And the class which just graduated, our large class, they're giving at the rate of 15%, which is our goal. So there's a cultural phenomena which we're going to have to address as an institution if we want to move forward. Okay. There's also increased competition for students. Not a day goes by where you don't hear about institutions shutting down. Okay. Just in Long Island, Dowling College, which in 2007 had over 4,000 students, and as of last fall had 2,300. They announced they shut down, and they shut down for good June 30th. And as I look at the landscape, as I talk to my colleagues across the country, you realize it's not just the privates, but also the public institutions which are suffering. There's been a big shift in demographics, okay? And it's tied in with the economy as well. If you look at students who are rising through the ranks, the K through 12, which is easy to predict, right? Because they're going to be kindergarten 1, 2, 3. It's a very different type of student who's going through in a whole lot of different ways. Okay. A number of them are not traditional students who are not students who traditionally went to college. So how do we get that group involved? The level of technology that they're aware of is amazing. I was talking to a colleague president just recently, and we talked about the fact that kids nowadays, it seems that they can't carry on a conversation. Why? Because they keep texting, Snapchat, and all these other social media. That's a big shift. Okay, we need to continue to enhance our visibility and our reputation. So these are all challenges, but this is not very different from the list I presented to this group last time. And I think if we continue to push on with what we've been able to do, I'm very optimistic about the future. I think we're in a great financial shape compared to where we are in 2010, 11, 12. Every year we go stronger, and that gives me hope for the future.